Hello, good morning, everybody. So, I feel like saying something here is that I've noticed that I get quite a lot of comments just this last couple of weeks of people that obviously watch my videos, leave comments, good comments, but are not subscribed. Now, if you're going to watch my videos on a regular basis and put in your 2 cents and whatnot, which I welcome, please do subscribe, okay? I'm not looking to get massive amounts of subscribers, that doesn't bother me. However, I'd like to know that the right people are on board, as it were, and I'd like to know how many subscribers I actually have, because, well, that's just the way I feel. So if you visit my channel regularly, you enjoy my videos, you get something out of them, and you comment and leave your 2 cents, then please subscribe. I would appreciate that. I know that my channel isn't glossy and very high on production values and that sort of thing. A lot of people seem to think that this is important, that it has to look good. Well, again, I think that's neither here nor there, really. I mean, some people do that and their channels look good and the content is good, and that's great. For me, I'm a kind of does what it says on the tin sort of person. I could spend time making my channel look perfect instead of having every video that I post showing me looking odd. It always, you know how it catches you in just that moment where you look like a muppet. It doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day that's part of me as well. You know, I don't always look good, I don't always feel good, I don't always talk good. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. This channel is just me, and what you see is what you get, and I talk about stuff as, you know, as in how I feel it, how I see it. Like I said, I'm a does what it says on the tin sort of person. But yeah, I would appreciate people that are not subscribed but watch my videos on a regular basis to please subscribe to my channel. That would be much appreciated. Yeah, I would do the same, obviously. I mean, if I like a channel and visit it on a regular basis, I make sure that I'm subscribed, because that's my little way of giving something back. Because at the end of the day, I don't ask for money. I probably never will, because I'm not doing this for money or anything. I'm just doing this because, well, it feels good to do it. You know, I get comments from people that say that they find my channel useful, they get some good information that helps them. That's great. You know, that's great. It helps me to do it. It helps me to do it as well. So, I wanted to really talk a little bit more about narcissism as well, because it's such a nebulous topic. Ugh. Where does it all come from, right? When you have a cold, where does that all come from? All that slime. I mean, it feels as if my brain is liquefying and coming out through my nose. Maybe it's the fake persona dissolving, turning into slime. That would be cool, wouldn't it? Maybe I'll collect it in a jam jar and send it to the Pentagon. They can do a DNA test on it. Narcissism is a nebulous topic, and if we're not careful, it can lead us down the road of spot the narcissist. It's like spot the NPC and spot the narcissist and spot the sociopath, and then we end up spending all our time focusing on something inherently negative and feeling and thinking inherently negative, because all that's fear-based. as in, oh, they're out there and they're coming to get me. What I've found, and this is just only my experience, but I've found that some people have some narcissistic traits, you know, behaviorally, as it were, because they had narcissistic parents. They were abused as children. And let's face it, people, we live in a world that abuses us on a regular basis. So whatever is there on the external plane lives on the internal plane as well. And I have friends who have some narcissist tendencies, but who are, on the whole, bloody good people. And they're working on themselves. You know, they're aware and they're working on themselves. They are people that are full of compassion and full of empathy. People that love animals, people that love cats. You know, I'm a bit biased, obviously, when it comes to cats, because I think everybody that loves cats must be a great person, and that must include every Bond villain, because every Bond villain, if you remember, always has a cat. So in my warped mind, I think, oh, that must mean they're good people then. They might be megalomaniacs, but deep down they're good people, because they have a cat. This kind of is poignant. Narcissists can seem like very nice people, very, very charming. That's how they lure you in. They may well have a cat, and you might think, oh, that's good. A narcissist would never have a cat. But you know, you don't know what they're doing to that cat when you're not there. Probably dressing him in gimp suits and posting him on the dark web, and God knows. I mean, you know, who knows, right? There'll be, I don't know, Behemoth, the black cat, dressed in a spiky gimp suit, whipping rats. Or something. Who knows? Like I said, so there are people that have narcissist issues, tendencies. I wouldn't even call them tendencies, really. They're just sort of glitches here and there in their personality. But on the whole, they're good people, and you'll find that as long as you have good boundaries and recognize what is acceptable to you and what is not acceptable to you, and you make it very clear to them, you can get on just fine. You have to be careful with that. But a full-blown narc is a very, very different kettle of fish. And again, we're not dealing with one type. You know, we're not. Some narcs, like in the film Gaslighting, are very malicious and mischievous, almost like the trickster element, man. They like to move things about to make you think you're going mad, right? Like the guy fiddling with the gaslighting in the film. It's a good film, you should all watch it. It's a very good film. I think it was done in 1947. It's a black and white, but it's a very good film. They can do that, they can play tricks like that, but I have to sort of hark back to my childhood and my mother, who did not do things like that. I find most of them thrive on, basically at the core of the narcissist, this is just my feeling and this is what I've observed, is that they are hollow, they're empty shells. Some of them were born that way. They can have had a reasonably decent, and I say reasonably, excusez-moi, here I am burping, farting, spluttering, blubbering. Anyway, they can have had a reasonably good childhood, but they still turn out all wrong. That's sort of more psychopathy then, you know, that sort of goes more towards the psychopathy side of things. But you get people that have been severely abused as children by narcissistic parents, and they become narcissists epigenetically in order to cope with that. People like that, I think, aren't necessarily soulless and aren't necessarily evil, but they've developed this entire fake persona that they are literally completely swaddled in and are terrified of acknowledging. It's all about denial, 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 denial. No, I'm not a narcissist. Everybody else is a narcissist. Have you ever noticed how narcissists like to make you feel like you're the narcissist? They're very, very, very good at playing the games. They don't even know they're doing it. They're probably not actually aware on a conscious level that they're narcissists. They may well be aware on a subconscious level, but to acknowledge that fact for them would be incredibly difficult and incredibly painful. We know this because when we ourselves face up to the shadow, our own shadow. Oh, can you see my candle? I'm just putting that on because otherwise you won't be able to see my face. When we face our own shadow and our own unsavory, fake persona aspects, it's very painful, right? Yet we do it. Well, some of us do. We have to, because it's the only way to be free. We have to go through it to get out of it. But for a narcissist, I look at it as a kind of sliding scale, but even that is an oversimplification in my opinion. There is what I call the psychopath narc. Forget about them, right? They're just pure malevolence, evil, and we need to recognize that. This is, serial killers will be narcissists. They feel themselves to be invincible, all powerful. That they're often fucking pillars of the community. Everybody thinks the sun shines out of their ass, but they've got like 40 dead bodies buried in their backyards, but they're charming. There's a film with Nicole Kidman in, I think it's called Malice. They practice facial expressions in a mirror. They're very glib and they're very charming. And most people living in a distortion field, such as they are, won't realise what's really going on. And when finally the cat is let out of the bag, everybody is like speechless with horror. They can't believe it. But really what's going on there is that they have this sense of total, like they're being ripped apart inside, because how did I not see that? How could I not see that? How could I not have seen that my next door neighbour was a complete evil bastard, having a wife and children locked in the basement beneath his house, where he was doing all kinds of things to them for the last 20 years. I thought he was a single man, and he had this really nice girlfriend that he used to take on trips in that lovely red sports car, and he used to mow my lawn for me, and he was a really nice man. How could I have not known that? And they end up blaming themselves and doubting themselves, and fear and horror and all kinds of the psychological impact of that obviously is quite severe, right? But as empaths, we come across someone like that, and I invariably do. In fact, I did yesterday. I had a really bad experience. You come across people like that, and you just know straight away something is very wrong. They may seem the most charming person you've ever met. I mean, literally, you think, wow, what a nice man. But something in you is saying, nah, this is not what it appears to be. Something is very wrong here. I went to the park yesterday with a friend's little dog, and I was playing stick, and it was really nice. And there was this guy. Now, there was a little child's playground there with a swing and various things that kids can amuse themselves with. And this guy was just stood there watching those children. At first I thought he might have a dog, because he was just stood there, and normally you think, well, this person is there with a dog, but he wasn't. He had no dog. He looked like a train spotter, and I find that pedophiles often look like train spotters. I really do. He didn't have a dog. He just had this plastic bag in his hand, and he was dressed a certain way, and he just had this energy that was all wrong. Then he turned around. The minute I thought that, I had that thought in my head, you see, and I thought, haha, something is wrong here. All of a sudden he turns around, talk about NPCs there, and he gave me this look. And it went on and on for like 3 minutes, which is a long time when somebody's looking at you in an eerie way, believe me. So then he started walking towards me, so I inched towards him, And I said, "Are you alright, mate? Can I help you with something?" And I looked him straight in the eye. Straight in the eye. So he just looked away, and he mumbled something and then shuffled off. I mean, he wasn't charming in any way, shape or form, and there was definitely something wrong. Why would a single man in his mid-50s stood there watching children play for like, I don't know, he was there when I arrived, so who knows how long he was there for, but quite a long time, and then watching me like that. I'm trying to think if I know an example of, I mean, I have met people, like one of my very first boyfriends, in fact, well over 30 years ago now, was I believe a psychopath and a narcissist. And oh boy, he was so good looking, and he was dressed so well, and he was so charming, and I totally fell for it, but I learned my lesson there. We live in a world which is populated by all these people, and they're all different. And when it comes to individuality, it does apply even to psychopaths. It applies to sociopaths. We can find traits amongst them. We can find some people who were born that way, and so that is what they are, and there is nothing else. And they are malevolent expressions of ultimate darkness. We can also find people that at the heart, at the core, are actually good people, but they've been so abused that they've developed this entire delusional fake persona that they cannot escape for fear. And believe me, the fear is big. We know that because when we look at our own shadow, I've just mentioned that anyway. So then we get people who have some tendencies, and they recognize that and they work on that. It's a really complex thing, and I find that watching videos and reading books on the topic of psychopathy and sociopathy, a lot of people oversimplify the matter. Like, oh, this is this and that is that. But when you've applied that information, which in theory seems absolutely sound, you'll find it doesn't quite work. It never quite fits. Not quite, no. Like I said, some narcissists are devious, like the trickster element. They like seriously to fuck with your mind, to make you think you're going mad. But I find that most narcissists will do that on an emotional level, much more so. They like to come at you from an above position. So it's like they say something, but they kind of leave it open-ended, leaving you to interpret what they are saying, because they don't really make it quite clear. You think, is this what you mean, or is that what you mean? So you decide on this, yes, this is what they mean. So you then respond to that, saying this or that. They then come back at you saying, that's not at all what I meant, you're so wrong. And then they start to imply that you're somehow wrong, inadequate, inferior, stupid, whatever, because you got it all wrong. But you see, they were master of the game from the get-go, because they said something, implying something, but doing it in a kind of underhanded way, leaving you to figure out what exactly they meant. See, the minute you start to think, what exactly is it they mean with that, you're sort of already being lured in. Then, not realizing that you're being played, you respond or react to whatever, yeah, you start to feel a little bit irksome, and you start, oh, okay. And that's when they come at you saying, well, you're such an idiot. How could you possibly have thought that's what I meant? You see what I mean? So they're always up there looking down at you. They're very condescending, they're very patronizing, they're very manipulative. They make you feel like you're all wrong on a fundamental level. You know, that's what I call pulling the rug from beneath your feet. You're just all wrong. You're defective. You're defective. They communicate sideways, like a crab. They do that on purpose. They're not honest. They don't have any integrity. They are there to play a game. They're there to feed, you see, and they play a game that makes them feel better. They want to reassert their perceived, you know, what's the word? You know, they feel better than everybody else. That's the same for the covert as well as the overt. The overt narcissist is far more belligerent, I find. But from covert to overt narcissist, there's quite a space in between, and so you get people that populate the in-between spaces. And when I get a comment that gives me this statement of this and this and this, but does it in such a way that it's sort of open to interpretation, so I interpret to an extent, and then I'm being told that my interpretation is completely stupid. You're an idiot. How could you possibly have derived at that conclusion? That's when I know I'm dealing with a narcissist, right? Red flag, red flag. I'm not sure if I've ever had any experiences with a overt narcissist, other than obviously my mother, who was without a doubt an overt narcissist. I mean, Sieg Heil, Sieg Heil. I'll love you if you are like that. Do not be yourself, because I cannot love you as you are, because you're no good. It was always a case of you're just like your father. I never knew my father. My mother left him when I was a kid, and she taught me so many things about my father, and all of it was bad. I mean, literally, I thought the man was Satan. I found out later that, well, he wasn't a great person, but he wasn't Satan. In fact, my mother was Satan. My mother's family, they were all narcissists, or they were empaths that were allowing themselves to be used and abused by narcissists. All the women in the family, bar my mother, were empaths. They all had abusive husbands. And one of them was so severely abused by her husband that she ended up in a mental asylum and ended up committing suicide. The males in my mother's family were all narcissist abusers. And I've been doing a lot of digging into that, but I still, to this point, don't know the cause or the wellspring of that. Generally, it's trauma, deep trauma. There was a lot of religion in the family, and that has a lot to answer for. Religion is populated with narcissists, if you think about it. You go to these big churches, you know, these evangelical type churches in America, or the Westboro Baptist Church. Who, the presiding patriarch of that particular institution is without a doubt a malevolent narcissist. And it's all hate. And he's there and he feels like God, doesn't he? See, I'm sorry I'm rambling again, aren't I, booties? We are not taught discernment, you know. We are taught to doubt ourselves. We are taught to doubt our intuition, to doubt our impressions, to doubt our gut instincts, always. You see, Christianity does that very, very much. It's funny because I was watching Vikings again. I do like that series. I have to watch a little bit and then have a break again because it's very violent and it gets to me after a while, but you know, they're the Vikings. Now, we don't know if any of this actually happened in that way, alright? But what I got from it was this. The Vikings arrived, they're all pagans. They don't give a damn if they die, like the samurai warriors. You know, if they die in battle, that's A-okay with them. They're not afraid they're going to go to Valhalla. You get the Saxons, and they're all Christians, aren't they? And they're all terrified to die because they're all afraid they might go to hell. They've been Christianized, and it's made them weak, because all of a sudden they're all sinners. They're all worthless sinners, and they're afraid, and they see demons everywhere. So they've been totally disempowered. Whereas the pagans, the Vikings, they still had that raw power. Now, I'm not saying that I'm a pagan. I don't do religion, and paganism was a religion, and we find that the bog bodies and all that, I mean, human sacrifice, whatnot, I can't say for sure what happened. I wasn't there, I don't know. But any god that demands sacrifices is no good god. It's not, that's not the way. And in my experience, the Great Mother loves us unconditionally, and it's amazing. We do get it wrong, don't we? We get it wrong so much, and yet there's always that grace. It's interesting because I bought something on eBay, and it turns out the seller had totally deceived me about the item that I bought. It was a rock quartz. Totally lied about the size of it and everything. So when it arrived, I was like, whoa, that's all wrong. And that really got my hackles up. And because I'm going through this whole boundaries thing, I reacted rather than responded. You know, I was on fire. And when I can get that way, very kind of bullish, you know, like really digging my hooves in and thinking, right. So I did. And it's at times like that, I guess, that we feel perhaps a little bit like, oh, I shouldn't be this way, I shouldn't say this, I shouldn't feel like this. And yet I made my stand, and I did get very reactive, and I did get very angry, and it was a perfect catalyst for showing me stuff about myself, my behavior, as in, I've got to sort this out and control versus be calm, state clearly what you want, and then sit back and let it happen. But you see, I did get it wrong, but it all worked out perfectly anyway. You know, I got my refunds, my partial refund, which is what I wanted, and everything worked out just fine. And that's grace, that in the face of us getting it all wrong and feeling like a total mess, somehow things work out beautifully. That was paid to the law of attraction, doesn't it, if you think about it? But that woman was a narcissist, you see, because it was all denial. No, I didn't say that. No, I didn't do that. And it was like, well, let me copy and paste the email that you sent me. Here it is. There you go. That's what you said. And it was all a blatant lie. I didn't say that. It's like Richard Granoff, the life coach, the Spartan life coach. He says that he has this really good analogy of it. You know, no, I didn't drink your milkshake, when they've got chocolate all over their face and they're holding your milkshake there in their hands. No, I didn't. I didn't do that. That is a narcissist. But that is a particular type of narcissist. That's, you know, it's a nebulous area, and I'm going to be doing some more sort of digging into that, because I feel that it's important for us to gain a greater understanding, because it affects all of us. And I don't believe in giving into fear or hatred or judgment, because that won't serve us. However, it is important for us to know what we're dealing with, and of course all of us can research this topic. There's a guy called Thomas Sheridan who wrote quite a good book about it, apparently. I haven't read the book, but I've read excerpts of it, and they're pretty good. But the interesting thing is that this guy in and of itself is a bit of a narcissist. It takes one to know one. Interesting. Sam Vaknin admits about himself being a narcissist, and that's why he knows the terrain so well. There was a guy, he's a psychiatrist, and he knows, or he says, yes, I know that I'm a psychopath. I feel no compassion, I feel no empathy. I see the world and the people in it, and the animals and nature in it, as a resource for me to use as I see fit, regardless of the harm it does. But he wrote some really good books on the topic of psychopathy, you see. And so this is why I feel perhaps it's also important for us to really get to grips with our own fake persona, our own shadow. Because the more we understand that part of ourselves, the more we understand in a greater sense what we are dealing with. And the more we understand what we are dealing with and the causes, the more we're able to heal. It's how we approach it, I suppose. It's how we approach it and how we process it and utilize it for greater healing. Because boundaries are important. Boundaries with regards to everything out there, but also everything in here. We have to have boundaries with ourselves, our own shadow. Some people call the fake persona the super ego. I thought about using that terminology, and then I thought, no, I won't, because it makes it sound like a good thing, and it isn't a good thing. It's the part of us that is narcissistic. It's the part of us that thinks in terms of, well, I'm worthless and so are you, and so I get to treat other people any which way I like, and I'm not going to apologise. We all have it in us. I know it's a scary thought, but there we go. We do have it. It's in there. And some people have a bigger super ego, as it were, fake persona, than others. And for some of us, for me, when I see it there, when I feel it there, when I know it's there, and it rears its ugly head in certain situations of high stress velocity, I think, shit. Oh, and I get scared that it will take over, because it is a ferocious beast. I mean, my ascendant's in Scorpio, and Scorpios often have a lot of fake persona shit going on. You know, they have big egos, as in fake egos. But it's understanding what it is, and that it needs compassion and love, you see. It's not there to be bludgeoned into submission, because it is the most wounded part of us, you know. And for the wounded people that have become narcissists as a means to survive, that is what it's all about. They are deeply, deeply wounded people. And I have compassion for them, and I understand that. But for the psychopath narcissists, it's a very different thing. Like I said, they simply are virus. That's all they are. Just virus. Pure evil. And it's knowing the difference, I guess. Recognizing. And when anybody comes across being really, really charming, but somewhat glib, then pay attention, people, and probably, you know, vacate the premises. Because there is such a thing as way too much charm. Way too much polishing. Way too much, it's too perfect, you know what I mean? Most of us, hey, we're a bit wonky, aren't we? We're a bit rough. We're diamonds in the rough. But these people, they're very polished, very, very polished, and a little glib. And that's never a good sign. They are predators. They are predators, and they recognize an empath from, I don't know, 100 miles away. They smell you before they've even seen you, because you're very, very sensitive. And most likely you're a bit of a people pleaser, because you just want to be loved. Because mommy didn't love you, and you want to be loved. Because you don't really know how to love yourself yet. Or you're getting there, but you know, it's a work in progress. And so you're vulnerable to them. They know to say all the right things, you know. Flattery. Always be aware of flattery, people. This is a big one. I'm not keen on flattery. My fake persona loves flattery. Do you know what I mean? Makes it feel good. It's like, oh yeah. But at the end of the day, a lot of the stuff, even the flattery I get in comments, it's great, yeah, thank you. But you don't know me that well, do you? You just know me from Facebook, from YouTube. But if you were to live here with me and be with me every minute of the day, you would soon see that I'm just as messed up as you, possibly more so. All my foibles and all my wonkiness and all my mistakes and all my struggles, that's all part of me as well. And there's a lot of that, there's so much of that, and I'm working through it with self-compassion as much as I can muster, more now than before, and hopefully more so even in the future. So we always make that mistake, don't we? It can be a YouTube channel, which is just a YouTube channel, that's all it is, yeah? But it could also, and you end up putting somebody on a bit of a pedestal, you know what I mean? You think that, oh, that's who that person is, oh, that's who Anika is. But that's not, I'm just sharing a little bit of myself here, you know? But believe me when I say that, yes, I'm a very wonky person. But that's probably why I have some wisdom. It's due to my wonkiness and due to my struggles and due to my perceived imperfections. It's due to fake persona issues. It's due to some narcissistic tendencies. Yeah? Because all of it is utilized, yeah? We don't really learn that much from our innate goodness. You know, we learn far more from our struggles and from our inner darkness. We really do. This is why it's so important to recognize it and to receive ourselves. Yeah. So you get these, this is why celebrity culture is so big. Because it's the pedestal culture. Oh, they're so amazing. I could never be that way. Oh, I'm so shit and small and silly and worthless. It's all there to induce a state of, oh, I'm valueless. I'm nowhere near as good. I'm nowhere near, I'll never be that way. Blah, 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 blah. You know, the pedestal culture. Anyone that you put on a pedestal, anyone that you think is just so amazing and so marvelous and so wonderful isn't. They're not. At best, they're just people like you, like me, you know, bit of this, bit of that, whatever. At worst, they're fucking monstrosities with shitloads of makeup, plastic surgery, full of malevolence and God knows what else. Or maybe they're MK Ultra victims, and believe me, these people are victims. They don't know their ass from their elbow, they have God knows how many different personalities, they've totally been subjugated, ripped apart, manipulated, abused in every imaginable way, and they're lost in the cauldron of evil. And again, that's not their fault, but they're used by the machine to give us this picture. Plato's cave, isn't it? Oh, this world of ours, eh, people? What a world we live in. Pitfalls everywhere. Ultimately, at the end of the day, all we can really do is keep coming back to ourself, our true self, which is always there. The voice of the true self is our intuition. That's why they want us not to trust it. It's always there. And in times of great turbulence, its voice is sometimes barely audible, yeah? But it's tuning in and, ah, yes. And the fake persona is going, no, you can't trust that, that's bullshit. Everything is fucked up. It's really fucked up and you're never going to be alright, you know? But the intuition is there saying, but there is grace. As in, everything appears to be a complete and utter mess, and you appear to experience great brokenness. But it's all an illusion. You'll get through this with love, with compassion, with self-receptivity, self-acceptance. And you will learn so much. You will transcend and transcend and transcend and transcend. You will learn to love yourself, to honor yourself, to recognize what's good for you, what's bad for you. Discernment, boundaries. And who knows, maybe you'll be able to activate the magic and achieve what everybody keeps telling you is impossible. True well-being, true good health, radiant, good, sound, fiery mental health, prosperity, abundance, creativity, true magical well-being in a world where that has never really been seen. That's what I'm aiming for. And I don't care if everybody tells me that I'm insane to think that, hey, I don't want to be sick. I don't want to be depressed. I don't want to grow old, because growing old is a symptom of the fallen world. And there's no need for it. People say, well, you're mad. You're delusional. You're delusional. And my fake persona is going, you're delusional. You're delusional. But my intuition says, yes, 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 yes. Keep going with that. Why not, people? Why not go for the most outlandish, most impossible seeming amazingness? Why not? Nothing's stopping us but fear. I say we do. I say we can. I say that the impossible is completely possible. There is no impossible. That is what I say. And so, in this amazing quest that we are on, where we're learning constantly, even when we don't even realize it, and where we're constantly, wow, this hall of mirrors of insanity, regardless of all of that, we are doing a splendid job. I think we're amazing, and I think we're gonna experience great heights of transcendence and magic, and we're gonna hopefully, quite possibly, find that mundane reality is a giant lie. That we are magical beings, and that the power of love will triumph. I think I'll leave it there. And yeah, I better leave it there, because you're all gonna have to get up soon and go to church. Praise the Lord.